Hello, everybody, and I hope you can hear me clearly from wherever you're joining us today. My name is Nasri Adam, and I'm the moderator for today's session. I'm the Director for Impact and Communications and the Regional Director for East Africa at AVPA, and very proud to be co-hosting this session with our dear partners, Impact Intelligence. So on your screen, you'll see Nico, Guliz, and Kim, who will be introducing themselves to you in the course of this session. We are seeing more people coming into the room, this virtual room that we've created for you today. And so as they come in, please put your name, where you're joining us from in the chat. It's good to see some familiar faces already. I can see some familiar faces joining from all over the world, some also new names and new people. So please introduce yourself in the chat. We will be starting at 4:05 East Africa time, so that's just in about a minute. And we hope that today you'll find the session very interesting. So we'll just be looking at different people coming in and start in the next minute. Thanks. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. I can see that We've gotten a number of people who have joined. And so in the interest of time, we will start off. Once again, my name is Nasri Adam, and I'll be your moderator for this session. But you thankfully will not be hearing too much from me today. I'm actually going to be passing it on to the team that's going to be working on this for us this afternoon, our partners, Impact Intelligence. And I think in terms of just sort of the welcoming remarks, we're going to keep it very short. When I was preparing today to have this session, the thing that I thought about was how growing up, AI was this, amazing thing that was going to happen in the year 2070. And we're all going to be like teleporting ourselves, and all these amazing technological advances were going to have been happening. But all this was meant to be happening years and years from now. But look how far it's come along. Technology, and specifically how we're using technology in the not-for-profit sector and around the impact investing landscape as ecosystem builders, as foundations, as philanthropists, as investors, has significantly changed over the last couple of years. And I dare say I want to see the person who hasn't yet tried out, in the very least, ChatGPT, to ask a question or two over the last couple of weeks or months. So it's something that's definitely with us, and it's here to stay. And so we thought about this as one of the tracks that we're going to be having at our upcoming AVPA conference, and it's really going to be embedded in our work going forward. And because it's no longer this distant possibility, we really have to think about how AI and how it's being used in different organizations as business functions. In 2024 alone, 78% of organizations reported that they were using AI in at least one of their business functions. And this number is only set to rise. The AI market is projected to surpass 826 billion by 2030. But to use AI responsibly in impact work, we must look beyond the hype and really ground our approach in practicality, accountability, and inclusion. It's definitely a defining feature globally. For instance, at Davos this year, it was the full scope of the entire conversation where all these policymakers and decision makers were convening earlier in the year in January. And it marks a significant touch point and milestone for Africa's digital transformation. And it does have the potential to transform Africa's economy by adding over 30 billion to its economy and driving progress across various sectors. And so as we recognize this potential, we think about how is this technology truly inclusive? How is really this technology going to be a driver for the continent? And how can we start to adopt it in a way that is ethical and can drive our quick wins around our various areas of work? And so that is really where we're going to be looking at today. And if we could move into the next slide, please. We're going to just have a really quick poll question to kind of set the stage. And it should have popped up on your screen. To what extent do you think AI adoption in the impact space can transform the ecosystem by drawing in new stakeholders and investments? I'll give you a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds rather, to just respond to that. I'll repeat the question. To what extent do you think AI adoption in the impact space can transform the ecosystem by drawing in new stakeholders and investments? Just take a pause there. I hope you're all typing away furiously with your responses. All right, so we can display the results if possible. And so we're seeing some different responses to that, and we'll be able to show that a little bit later because the responses were in long form. And we can move to the next slide now. But essentially, there's different ways that we see this impacting, and some of it is positive. And I think for the most part, people see it as a positive, seeing how they're introducing it into their workflows, their work streams, grant management, report writing, HR processes. So I think that's definitely being seen as in the majority a positive. But we do have considerations around, the ethical nature of this work and how are we able to ensure that that is done responsibly through this adoption. And so for the next hour and I think 20 minutes or so, we will be talking about AI and its uses, Gen AI use causes, adopting AI into our work. We will be having an opportunity for some Q&A, so feel free to either drop your questions in the chat, and as we move along, we'll be able to respond to those questions. And then we'll have some very short closing remarks at that point. And I'd like now just to introduce, but I think I wouldn't have done it a proper service, to be honest, introducing our panel, but to ask Nico first, and then Guliz, and then Kim to introduce themselves, and then we can go into it. Nico, over to you.
Thank you very much, Nasri, and thank you to the whole AVPA team. We are really happy to to spend the next hour and a half with you and try and share kind of an overview of how we see the AI landscape, especially with a focus on work done by foundations and philanthropy, but the impact ecosystem in general. And my name is Nico Mosgaard. I'm from Denmark originally, but left Denmark in '99 and spent the last 20 years living in Asia, and have been working with strategic intelligence in different shapes and form. I co-founded Impact Intelligence 7 years ago, and we've been working with foundations and philanthropies and doing quite a few things over the years that we would love to share some of them with you today. Also, something we're very excited about sharing some a new initiative we've done with AVPA. We'll get more into all those details, but I'll just let my colleagues Gulis and Kim introduce themselves as well.
Thank you, Nico, and thank you, Nasri. Hi, everyone. I'm Gulis. I'm a program manager at Impact Intelligence. By background, I am actually a physicist, but 4 years ago during my master's, I had a change in heart and really wanted to work in sustainability and impact and joined Impact Intelligence and working with the company ever since. Kim, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kim. I am working as a senior analyst at Impact Intelligence. I'm based in South Africa, and it's nice to see so many names from South Africa popping up in the chat. I'm really looking forward to this webinar and hopefully meeting a few of you at the conference in a month.
Thank you very much, Kim. And I think we can go to the next slide. So we wanted to actually we're drowning you with polls here, but hopefully you find it a bit engaging on your afternoon in the office or wherever you might be. But we would really just like to have an idea of kind of where you feel in this on this AI journey. Really great to see how fast you are on the buttons here. It's actually really interesting to see that there's a quite well balanced, including a few experts on the call. Now you guys are putting some pressure on us, but we hope we can make it interesting and relevant at whatever level you are at. But really good to see, and again, great you're joining. So since there is quite a few that are familiar, comfortable, even experts, I think we're going to have a really exciting conversation at the end or towards the later part of this. We'll try and share with you some kind of highlights of where we see things are, and then some use cases that we feel are relevant for most people in the audience. I'm fine with stopping the poll. I think we got a really good overview. Thanks everyone for sharing. Cool. So we can move to the next slide. Great. So maybe just a very brief introduction to Impact Intelligence. What we set out to do was really to try and answer some of those many questions that came out from the conversation after the Sustainable Development Goals were launched in 2015. At that time, I was involved with a sovereign fund, only doing impact investments in Denmark, where I'm from, working with them in Asia. I was working in the renewable energy space. I was volunteering as a mentor to social entrepreneurs and social startups. And there were so many questions from all angles about, okay, excellent that these things are now coming really high up on the list of priorities, but there are so many things to do. What is most important? What is most urgent? Where can we make the biggest impact with the let's say, resources we can allocate. And that's not only financial resources, it can be a lot of non-financial resources as well. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But really, we realized that there were so many questions and not so many answers. When Nasri started out by saying that maybe when we were very young and maybe seeing different science fiction stories, we thought that these things would happen much later than they actually did. At that same time, I would say that what we are all talking about now is AI and all the different tools that are popping up in this very rapid development curve. We also have to keep in mind that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, this was talked about as big data and processing big data, large volumes of different types of data sources. In a commercial space, in corporates and especially in banking, they've been working with different types of artificial intelligence for many years, 20 years, maybe 30 years. So at the time when we started what we are doing here, kind of pre ChatGPT and everything that OpenAI and many others have brought kind of to the world, it was really looking at text analytics, using different language models, large language models, to understand what is going on in very large volumes of data. So we will touch upon that today, about how different data sources can sometimes be overwhelming, but how it can actually be structured and analyzed and processed and, let's say, visualized and shared in much more accessible ways. We will not go into a lot of things about ethics and hallucinations and all these kind of things in today's webinar. That's important discussions. But one thing to highlight, when you're working with known data sets, it can be public data sets, it can be private data sets within organizations, or other ways. It can be interviews, conversations with different stakeholders. When you have these data sources behind the research you're doing, you will always be able to trace back to it. So when you're looking at aggregating all this information, you can actually always zoom back in and say, okay, where is this coming from? And for us, this is very important in all the things we're discussing today. Even though we're dealing with very large data sets, you can always zoom in to exactly which interview is this from, which news article is this from, which report is this from, or social media post, to see exactly where things are and to make sure it is based on facts and not something that is made up. So I wanted to say we are in an extremely exciting space where AI is also being adopted by more and more organizations within the impact space, but these things has been used for quite a while, and it's important to understand that they will continue to accelerate extremely fast. Next slide, please. Thanks. Okay, so when you signed up, there was also a field to ask what you were hoping to get out from this webinar today, and thanks a lot for sharing. We've actually, this is a small use case of using AI and text analytics, because we had quite a few comments that you made, and we really just tried to cluster these in a more simple overview. So here are some of the things that you have asked about, and pretty happy to say that we will cover most of them to some extent, if not all. So this is just to share with you. I hope you recognize some of the questions or comments you made yourself in this overview. But this is also a good illustration of how you can take, rather than 50 or 100 comments or questions, it could actually be 10,000 or 100,000 articles or social media posts or interviews or things like that, where you really want to understand from a high level what are the thematic areas that are being discussed, and then actually start zooming in to understand the narratives and what's going on. Next one. Okay, so I think we already briefly mentioned about this. So maybe give us some ideas again. Don't worry, there will not be a poll every 3 minutes. Then it's gonna be a lot of work for you guys today. I think we are running maybe 5 in total, so you're halfway there. But it's super interesting to see what is most interesting for you. Maybe we could try and dive a little bit deeper into that, and definitely also when we have the discussion in the last 30 minutes. Great. We're already at 50 or so of 80. Maybe we can just spend a few more seconds, but I think this gives a very good representation. Again, thanks a lot for hitting the keys here and sharing with us. So definitely AI for nonprofits, philanthropy, and development in Africa. We will talk about that. Different use cases, fundraising, impact reporting, etc. AI at scale for social innovation, also super interesting. Okay, thank you so much. This is great, and we'll cover some of the things in the use cases we are mentioning, and then let's cover the anything we don't cover along the way. Let's make sure we talk about it towards the end. Thank you. Okay, so again, the agenda for today is to kind of first start out with this helicopter view, because AI can mean different things to different people, but about its use for impact. Then we will go into some of the use cases and try and give you 4 different types. So the first one will be, I think, very much matching some of the things you just highlighted yourself, but evaluating applications. This is something that foundations, philanthropies, even network organizations are really dealing with when maybe even more so now when we have these different funding crushes or crunches because of what has happened in the recent period. Then those that are providing financial support to organizations are probably going to get even more applications. So to process that increasing volume is definitely an area where AI can support, not automate and take over. We are not big fans of that, but to kind of augment the process where AI and human experts can work together. We believe this is very helpful and can make sure things can happen faster, more frequently, and so forth. And then once you actually have grantees, program awardees, and so forth, it's actually also very important and interesting to follow and monitor these activities. What are the grantees doing? What are different beneficiaries? What is happening to them, and so forth. Secondly, we'll go into something around really truly scalable AI for impact, with some examples about mapping global policies and impact efforts in every single country on the planet, which was extremely interesting to do and impossible without the use of AI. Then we have a third use case, which is talking about the voices of different stakeholders, and we find it especially interesting understanding the different ecosystem partners, and very much also the beneficiaries, who are the ones that actually need support the most. Last but not least, the fourth use case we will mention is something we've been working on for more than a year with AVPA and also its sister networks, which is about understanding all the amazing activities that are happening by the network members. So in today we will talk about the AVPA members, the amazing things they've been doing over the years. It's been very hard to track that just by trying to read some news articles and follow newsletters and things. So together we have worked on making this available in a much more let's say, hopefully user-friendly and easy to use way. After this, we will try and give some share our thoughts on adopting AI into your work. And of course, that can mean different things depending on what your work is. But we will actually use that to also kick off the kind of rather than Q&A, more kind of discussion around this very big table of 80 people that we have. But feel free along the way to ask some questions, share it. We'll try amongst us to keep track and make sure we don't forget anything. Gullis, next slide, and passing over to you as well.
Thank you, Nico. So let me just start with generally what is AI, what are the different use cases of AI for impact, and then we will change our focus a little bit, maybe filter that focus a little bit. So AI can be utilized in different ways. Like Nico said, it has been around with different names like neural networks or big data for 10, 15 years already, just not as publicly available, easily available, or in this user-friendly format that now we can use in our day-to-day, right? And it's not just a chatbot that we ask questions for. AI is way more than that. And the main idea, not the main idea, but one of the things that we both fear but also try to go to is the idea of AGI, where the general intelligence, where the AI doesn't need any human input or any humans, and they can actually think, process, act as a human in every way. But we are not there yet. Hopefully not really soon. But as today, what AI is basically us trying to teach computers how to do human things, but not everything. There are different parts that we try to teach it. So, for example, structured deep learning. That would be AI looking into a structured data set like an Excel sheet, trying to understand if there are any inconsistencies, like trying to understand fraudulent activities in financial data sets. There's predictive modeling that we already do with statistics, which you can make it a little bit more stronger, adding on the AI part on it to understand and predict the future or what's going to happen next for your data set and scope. There's computer vision, which is basically us trying to teach AI how to see like humans. Amazing example of this was, apologies for not remembering which country it was, but during a really bad scenario. It's like there, I think it was almost half of the country where it was flooded, and there was not enough human resources for search and rescue. And they sent out drones taking pictures of the flooded areas to identify where there were actually survivors. So we let AI to do the search part, and then the limited human resources were then able to go for the rescue to the places that actually had survivors that needed help. Another example would be reinforcement learning, where you basically, similar to how humans learn or dogs learn, through trial and error based on the outcome. If we are going towards what we are trying to achieve, that would be a positive thing. But if you're not going towards that, that would be false. So we would go back and try something new, right? You can think of this in terms of AI real-time adjustments of traffic lights. In that case, it will be when AI adjusts the patterns of the traffic lights in a way, if we get more congestion, that's not what we want. Then we learn from it, change the pattern, and try to achieve the best flow possible, right? And then the last thing is natural language processing, generation, and understanding is the old name. That's not really good anymore, but what we call generative AI now. So this is how we teach AI to talk and generate natural language like we do. This is the basis of ChatGPT and every chat tool that we're using. This is the basis of any language-based AI use case that we do. And today, that will be what we will be focusing on because that is the hype. But we will try to look beyond the hype, like Nazri said. And we will focus something specifically here, not all the different use cases, but use cases of Gen AI and text analytics for philanthropy, for foundations, basically for the use cases that you can apply in your own work to make it more efficient in your day-to-day.
Thank you very much, Gulis. And yeah, we really want to try and share what can be done and what different organizations have been doing and are already doing, even on an ongoing basis, and actually some of them have been doing for years. So let's jump into it. This is really about how these tools can be used to, help you with the same processes probably as you have been fine-tuning and developing over years, things that are working really well, but where there are some steps in the process that is really labor intensive and could very well be solved or made more efficient and faster and cover more, as I've mentioned already before, with the participation of AI tools. So it's about augmentation and not just automation and hoping for the best. Absolutely not the leader. So we'll jump into some of these use cases. The first one, evaluation and monitoring. Next slide. Great. So we see the use cases in this space kind of from the starting point where you're running your program. You know what it is you want to do in your organization. You know who you want to reach and who you're reaching out to for participation, whatever that participation looks like. So you are running a program, or you are allocating funds, or you're doing impact investments. You are trying to get in touch with those that you want to collaborate with. You receive applications, you receive investor memos, you receive different kinds of documents, very often with a number of underlying supporting evidence to kind of build the case for whoever is applying. So going through large volumes of applications, helping those expert reviewers that are involved, there's a really good use case for this. One thing is helping improve the process and hopefully also help the reviewers to go through it in a more efficient way. But when you add an AI component to this, and you can process much more information rather than, let's say, a very simple application where you have a number of drop downs and ask people to describe things in as briefly as possible. You can actually open up to really listen to the voice of the individuals applying. And very often social entrepreneurs, social organizations in different ways that are looking for help or looking for support, they have a lot that they want to share, and a lot of things that is actually quite important for the implementing organizations, for the foundations, to understand what it is the people they want to help, what they really need. So opening up for free text answers, letting people really share what they want. Now that you can process that in a much better way, you will also get much more insights that you can use to inform your strategy and all this, besides making your screening and application process more efficient. Then you have like the due diligence process of that. Once you kind of highlight the key applicants that you want to really understand better, you also need to make sure that what the interesting cases that are putting forward are actually can be verified. So the due diligence can also help very much to look through different reports, do triangulation checks on what is being said, what they have done, and so forth. Then once your programs are running or your grants have been funds have been allocated and dispersed. You also want to make sure you understand what is going on with the people you're supporting in different ways. And monitoring can be done in different ways. We'll show you a use case of that. Then once you have all this information from your applications, from the programs you're running, from the insights you're building, you also want to share this with the world, whether it's in more frequent updates in your social media as an organization, or whether it's in annual reports or quarterly reports, however that might look. You actually also have a lot more information that you're able to collect and process and then share with all those that can actually benefit from this information that you have. So much more information is gathered and processed, and you also want to get it out to the people that can use it. This is one example. We've been working with the Bayer Foundation. They are headquartered in Germany, but actually active across the global south, and have been active in Africa for many years. Their program was used to be called the Women Empowerment Award, and they actually changed it to Women Entrepreneurship Award recently. So last year they got more than 2,000 applications. It was around the same here in 2025, and it's just very difficult to process these just with human eyes. So that is one thing, looking through that and picking up the insights from all the applications. But then once the program was running, every year when they have new awardees, after the award has been announced, we start tracking the activities by these female entrepreneurs that are joining the Bayer Foundation program. So we look at what are they saying in their own social media channels, what is being said about the founder and the organization in public social media, what is being said in the news. If they are putting any updates or any reports on their websites, we will pick that up as well. And all of this is actually brought together and put into an interactive dashboard, so the Bayer Foundation team can get an update on a monthly basis. We've also put together a summary email that they get every month, just because different people in the organization would like to know different things. So they can basically say, I want to know what's going on in Africa. Another team member wants to know what's going on in South America, and they can choose how they want to structure these. So it's just different ways of accessing all this information that is now processed and much easier to digest. So this is just to share a few kind of examples of how these dashboards can look like, but you will have some statistics of what's going on, breakdown by regions, different mentions and evolution of that over time. Next one. Great. Gullis, I will pass over to you for the next one.
Thanks, Nico. So now let's talk about, again, something that we have been hearing about in the recent days. And the use case we'll talk about here is how we achieved doing a global research in a month. So the challenge here was that we have been working with a foundation that is working in eye health and vision health. And this is a big challenge. I actually didn't know the statistic before we started working with them, but globally, only 1/3 of the people with refractive error actually have access to appropriate corrective eyeglasses. And this is, for me, a really huge gap, as being one of those people and lucky enough to have that. And so they wanted to understand, because they work globally, they wanted to understand in every country, what is the status, what is the landscape? And this includes a few different pieces, right? First of all, we really need to understand the government policies. Is there a government insurance, a base level of standard of care? Is there any standardized training provided to eye healthcare specialists? Then you also need to understand who is doing what in that country? Are there already some impact activities happening? Are people trying to find solutions to bridge this gap? So the idea was to look at the whole world, so more than 200 countries and regions around the globe that uses different languages, that has policies, probably public somewhere that is hidden in five levels deep in a government website. So when a project like this comes, how would a researcher work with this? Is it possible to do with humans? Yes, definitely. If you can put in 100 researchers on this, we would probably be able to do this in a year. And that is pretty optimistic. But we were able to complete this landscaping in a month using what we call research agents. So the idea behind research agents is to, again, going back to the definition of AI, teaching computers how to act like humans. In this case, we teach computers how to act like researchers. So as a researcher, how would I go about this? Okay, I am looking into Turkey. So I need to understand policies in Turkey. And we already actually had a pretty specific framework in terms of policy to what to look for. And these are really specific things like, is there standardized training or certification for the specialists? Does the government health support provide a periodic replacement of eyeglasses? So pretty specific information we are looking for. So if I was a researcher trying to understand this information in Turkey, I would probably first do a Google search, look at the first link. Okay, this is not talking about the policies, but it's just an ad for a, I don't know, eye hospital. So I go back to the second one, try to find a policy. Okay, this policy seems interesting. I read through, try to find the information. If it is there, I note it down, give my reference. Like, you would go through this process of trial and error and trying to go to the question that you're answering. So we train the research agents to do the same. We train them to evaluate the outcomes based on what they're trying to achieve and then make the decision based on the next step. So I'm not telling the AI to first look at this website, then look at this website. It decides that. I just say, this information is what I'm trying to find. You're a researcher, you know what to do. So when we do this and when we send out all the research agents to look into policy documents and news articles and reports mentioning what's happening around eye health in all the native languages, then get back this information, we structure this and create, based on the framework, create the scoring and the landscape. And the second part of this was to try to understand what are the impact activities happening, what are the different foundations and philanthropies hospitals and schools are trying to do to bridge this gap. And we also created a list of this and gave a scoring to give an idea about overall globally what's happening, comparing it and finding the gap specifically on the country level. And moving to a different case, but still I will use the word agent because it's a hot thing. Another thing that we can use AI for is to understand voices. Now, with the ability of AI to actually have conversations, it gives us a really good opportunity to use it for something that is quite cost and resource heavy for the impact space, because it is important for us to understand what our end beneficiaries are saying, what our collaboration partners are saying, what are the challenges that they are trying to solve, what are what is on their mind every day, or what is the amazing solution that they came up with that they're trying to expand. So whether you're trying to communicate with the youth in South America or the social entrepreneurs in Africa or doctors in Asia, doesn't matter. You still need to have those conversations, right? And when you have those interviews, there are a few challenges, like trying to find the time that works for the interviewee and the interviewer, having trained interviewers that know the language, maybe traveling to a different country to be able to do those interviews, and so on. But the insights that we gather from interviews are so valuable that cost and resource heaviness actually, in most cases, feel like it's worth it. Because what is the alternative? The alternative is doing surveys. And it's an amazing tool where we can use both like quantitative questions, score this, do you agree or disagree from 1 to 10? What is your biggest challenge in life? Select all that apply. Or you can ask open-ended questions in a survey, but in most cases, we do not get the depth that we would like, right? So here we try to find the best of both worlds and come up with a solution where AI can help us. And this is what we call an interview agent. It is basically a conversational AI, a voice-to-voice conversation that you have with an AI, where the AI is a trained interviewer who knows what we are trying to get from the interviewee. What are the questions we are trying to answer? What are the narratives that we are trying to expand on? But it has the ability, so rather than a survey, it has the ability to question adaptively. If I give really short answers or contradictory answers, it can actually try to clarify those. So it will adapt the questions based on the conversation, like a human interviewer does. And it does have multilingual support, which also, to some extent, eliminates the language problem. And for me, one of the biggest pros of an approach like this is also not having to schedule a time that works for everyone. Because with an AI interviewee, you basically, when you have the time, you click on the link that is shared to you, you start, you have your conversation, you close, and that's it. This can be midnight, this can be 6 a.m., this can be over your lunch. And of course, it also provides an improved scalability compared to interviews, because in parallel, you can send out thousands of interviews like you could do with surveys, but you can get more in-depth outputs than you would get in a survey. Of course, this is not something that will replace interviews, because the human-to-human connection and being able to have that conversation with a human, look into their eyes, see their facial expressions, that is something different. But this is a more cost and resource effective way that is somewhere in between surveys and interviews that can help to gather insights that we think is one of the really good uses of generative AI. So with that, I'll hand over to you, Nico, to talk about the most exciting, can I say that, use case of today?
Definitely the most recently launched, because welcome everyone. This is the kind of soft launch of the AVPA Social Investment Monitor. So super happy to share this with all of you, and thank you. I think Frank might be listening in, and Nasri, you're right here on the screen. I can see you. You and the entire AVPA team. It's been such a pleasure working with you, and you know, this whole webinar today is about actually innovating. It's about daring to try new things and to rapid prototype and build things as we go along. So the challenge was pretty interesting, how to be able to share all these great initiatives that are happening by members of AVPA, and to try and catch up and read up on this from different types of information sources. Just from news alone, it would take one person about 7 months to actually just read up on the average 70,000 articles that mentions AVPA members on a monthly basis. So, pretty impossible without the use of AI, but something that can actually be quite well structured. Again, augmented, because the AI can do and help with quite a few things, all nicely built in the right pipelines, but there always have to be a human layer, and I will mention that a little bit as well. So next slide. Great. So you see AVPA and the African continent here in the middle of the map. This is also something that AVPA sisters organizations have been working on, and I think, again, one of the many things that makes AVPA such a strong network is that it has this very clear and deep focus on Africa, but also very close cooperation with the other parts of the southern part of our planet. So really great to see. So how to try and figure out all these things that are going on. First of all, there has to be some kind of taxonomy that's developed and in place to have some kind of way to be comparing apples to apples and put things into some boxes that make sense. So that was fortunately already pretty much in place. And as we went along, we realized that there were certain things, maybe things that are becoming a hot topic or more important as we go along. One of the things that Frank and Nasri and the team was very keen on was, for example, looking at catalytic capital initiatives in Africa. So we were able together to add a tag about that to make sure we can really highlight what's going on. So far, in the last 2.5 years, AVPA members have actually been doing more than 18,000 different activities. Some of them financially, and also many of them non-financial activities that are helping people in need in many different ways. What we do to start with is look at news articles, and first we do it in English. Maybe somebody will think, oh, but maybe there's a lot more happening than what is mentioned in English news, and that is absolutely true. But we had to start somewhere, and we think it's mind-blowing that just by looking at English news from activities in Africa, we can highlight so many things and an incredible amount of financial support as well, and break this down. Of course, this can be further enriched looking at again, some of the same sources as information sources, data sources I've been mentioning earlier on in other use cases, but members of AVPA, many of you also in this call today, are you mentioning something on your websites? Are you mentioning something in reports? Could things be surfaced and shared with all your peers and stakeholders through interviews and other ways? This whole data set can be enriched along the way in many different ways. It can also start looking at it in Africa in French, looking in Arabic, and whatever. Make sure you get the deepest insights and knowledge out from it. So yeah, I will. Gulis, if you go to the next slide, then I'll just try and describe a little bit what you would look at. And I think, as I mentioned as well, this is a soft launch. The system is up and running. We did a pilot a year ago that was launched and presented at last year's conference in Nairobi. And now this is updated every month, and you can find information in there. I think Nasri and the team will share much more about how to get access and what to do when we all meet in Nairobi very soon. But you're getting even a little bit more than a teaser today, I would say. So on the dashboard, what you see, this is the kind of at the top of the dashboard, you see this, let's call it helicopter view, where you'll see what is the financial amounts that's been deployed by members over the last 2.5 years. On the dashboard, when you log in, you will see a total amount. But on the right-hand side, you have a bunch of filters that I'll briefly go through. But then you can see the social causes that are being worked with. You can see on the left side there. You can increase the view and dive into this as you go along. On the right-hand side, you have the SDGs that are being dealt with, and on the right-hand side, you have these different filters. So one thing is just a timeline. And you can look by month. Let's say you want to look at last month or you want to look at the last quarter. You can just pick those months and see what's going on. But then you can also go down and look by SDGs. You can look by social causes. You can look by specific markets or countries if there's something that's relevant for you. At the end, you can actually even look at individual organizations if you want to pick out some that you are either working with or trying to understand what they're doing and want to collaborate with or try to raise funds from them. So here when you maybe one up, Curtis. So when you look here, maybe my screen here in where I am is a little bit slow, but so what you have here is actually this first screen and then another screen, which is first the financial support mechanisms, and kind of mapped by different social causes. And then you have another one, which is a non-financial one. So you can zoom in on all of these. But for the different types of financial supports, it's everything from grants to loans, different blended finance and different types of financial support. You can also look at a map to try and get an overview. If you zoom in on a country, you will actually see who are the most active organizations, and what they are involved in. Next one. Yes. So when you drill one step deeper again, then you actually start looking at all the organizations on the left side, and again the social causes on top. All these tiny bubbles actually indicates an activity, and if you kind of mouse over it, you can get a brief summary of what's going on, what has happened. So just to kind of get a quick idea of what's going on. If you then drill even further down, you get to a even more detailed layer where you can see each activity. If they have an amount tagged to it, you can see the amount, and you actually have a link to the news article that mentioned the activity, so you can go in and trace it back and see where it's coming from. That is not just something that's been thought up or dreamed up by whatever models are used. So we're really excited to share this with you, and the whole idea is that AVPA wants to make sure that the members can interact, learn from each other, find ways to collaborate, and one thing is to do more of the great things, but it's also to learn from each other's sometimes. You can even you can say if something has not worked out well, or there are lessons where something could have been done better, it's important to share those as well, so others don't make similar mistakes, and you optimize the use of the resources that you have. So I think we have gone through now 4 different use cases, something that we are seeing is really helping foundations and philanthropies and networks already. There's many other things that can be done, and we'll try, not only ourselves, but I think other people that are active in this space. Maybe some of you on the call here have some great use cases, and it would be great to bring these forward. I think that was it. You have another poll going, and you're hitting the buttons already, so that's really cool. But I hope what Gulis and I have shared so far makes sense and can help inspire some ideas. Maybe some of you are doing something similar or doing other things. When we open up for discussion a little bit, let's definitely surface all these things. If you have added some questions in the comments already, we should cover those as well. And maybe also a big thanks as well for almost 70 of you out of 80 who joined in the beginning still being around. Super happy with that. It's your late afternoon, and we know some might have to leave, but hopefully most of you will hang on for another 30 minutes. That'll be wonderful. Great. So evaluating applications, scaling, stakeholder monitoring. Great. We can touch upon those if you want in the discussion, and if not, please also feel free to reach out for some deeper discussions on this. You're always welcome to do that. Cool. Great. Maybe I'll try to be quick so we can open up for discussion, but just something about how you can adopt AI into your work. Good. Good. Can you change the slide? Okay. Do you wanna briefly go over this? Good.
Yeah, sure. So
Great.
also seeing like quickly some of the messages, I just wanted to clarify one point around generative AI generally is while just by itself, generative AI is a pretty useful tool when we understand the do's and don'ts and what can it help and what can it not. One thing in at least our approach is that we do not just use generative AI. This huge, I would say, like line of operations that we go through mostly use LLMs in different ways. That's not generating text, or it just use text analytics operations that do not involve AI in some cases. And just so we have talked about 4 different use cases, but I just want to give you an overview of what at least our thinking looks like when it comes to a project, so that you can understand it is basically a lot of puzzle pieces that we put together. And giving you these 4 use cases doesn't necessarily mean these are the only things that can be done. It's an unlimited things that we can do, you can do, that AI can be used for. So these were just some examples. And in terms of how we think, mostly at least in our work, is there are different types of unstructured data, from news articles to social media posts to policies to research reports to interviews. And all of these unstructured data can be analyzed through bunch of different, again, this whole line of operations where you collect the data, structure it, sometimes generate some outputs, visualize it, and then automate it maybe to have a monitoring system. And in the end, you can add expert insights into it. You can add further data analysis into it. And based on the need and what will be the most useful and easiest output, this can change. It can be reports, it can just be a huge database, an interactive dashboard. It can be your own chatbot, or just having newsletter alerts in your email, right? So when it comes to AI and generative AI, especially with this rapid growth right now, it is possible to do a lot of things. We do not need to fit the use cases into these boxes. And with that, I'll just hand over to Nico in terms of, okay, this is a really basically we can do everything, but how do we start?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Gulis. So I'll make it really quick so we can start the discussions. But it's in simple terms, really look. We always advise people we talk to try and look at all the great processes you have already, and try and look at where are some of the bottlenecks, because most philanthropies and impact investors, foundations, family offices, they have really talented team members that are able to do quite a lot of things, but they are not always very large teams, and they need to prioritize. When they can look at their processes and see where there are bottlenecks and find ways to augment these processes with AI, then they can actually do more things faster and so forth, as I had mentioned, sorry, already several times before. So look at the processes and figure out where it's heavy, and then where you can do some things. Next one, Chris. So again, think out of the box. Don't think about what you could do if you are 5 people or 50 people in your team. Think about what you could do with 5,000 artificial people, and really think out of the box. What would your moonshots be? Something you would like to be able to do, and then work backwards from there. So figure out what are the biggest needs, set your priorities, start small, do a pilot project different ways, exactly like we did with AVPA on this. We did a small pilot. Let's look at something, let's map it out. And all of a sudden we understood that we could really surface all these amazing initiatives and start sharing knowledge. Then you move on, you test it, you learn, and then you scale up. So I think there are some examples from what we have shared today that has started exactly this way. What are we doing? What would we like to do? How do we even, some of these things, we've been working with these things for 15 years, 7 years, 100% focus on impact. We've started working with this in different ways before ChatGPT and these things made it much more, created much more awareness about it. So the people that were early adopters in the impact space, they were really taking a leap of faith and say, you know what, we need to try and be innovative and find alternative ways. And it's been proven extremely helpful, right? So I'll stop there, but figure things out, take some baby steps. Once you get some successes, scale up, and you don't look back. And that has nothing to do with us and what we do particularly, but in general, there are many that are already benefiting from this. Also large organizations that have their own teams internally doing amazing things. One more poll for you. Thanks for jumping on again. Very interesting to see. I was a little bit surprised there was nobody looking at it from a research point of view, but somebody is now. That's interesting. Or maybe a few. Operations and efficiency, I think maybe is something that many expect kind of from as a natural outcome from this fundraising and donor engagement and data analysis and impact measurement. So the fundraising part and donor engagement, certainly, whether it's, from a fundraising point of view, depending on what it is you want, but we're really hoping that these social investment monitors are actually able to help create more transparency and more awareness about who is funding what and who has been funded, so people can engage and try and get some help that they need. And that goes both ways with the donor engagement as well. For the data analysis, that is pretty broad, but with regards to impact measurement, there are quite a few things that you can do with helping your grantees or investees, beneficiaries to provide information to you in a more simplified way that will save them time, but also maybe even make the information you get better, and so forth. So we can go into that. Maybe we stop here and open up for the Q&A. And if we should,
yeah.
go ahead.
We already got a few questions, so maybe I can read them and try to answer. So one question was, how did we handle hallucinations in any content produced by the research agents? So again, I think here the idea goes back to the do's and don'ts of generative AI, of course, but when you think about research agents or any other use case that we mentioned here, it's a little bit more than just asking ChatGPT, okay, what are the policies in Zambia around eye health? So we go to different sources, read the content, and then that content is any questions that we are trying to answer will be answered based on that content. Of course, this does not say the hallucination will not be there, but this is as minimal as it can get. And another thing that Nico also mentioned earlier, that any output that we have will always link back to the reference, whether it be a news article, whether it be a policy report, you can always trace it back. So I hope that answers your question. So there is no way that we can say there's no hallucination at all, but it is minimized. That is almost none. Plus, everything can be traced back to the original source. And we had another question, but who are the primary beneficiaries of the insights generated, donors, grantees, or intermediaries? I'm assuming there was around the social investment dashboard. Nico,
Precious,
do you want to take that?
you have your hand up, so feel free to jump in if you want, and very nice to meet you.
Hi, Nico. Sorry, the hand was completely an error, but
No
happy
problem.
for any responses that can be shared. But really great session and very helpful insights. We're really excited about this too. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So, Precious, I think this was also your question. So, Nico, do you want to take it or should I? Who are the primary beneficiaries of the insights generated on this social investment dashboard, donors, grantees, intermediaries?
Yeah, very good question, and I would love to answer all of the above, because different information in there can be hopefully valuable to the different stakeholders. So it's not only about knowledge sharing between direct peers, only between foundations and philanthropies and impact investors, but really also trying to share some of the insights from here. It can be in different reports or quarterly newsletters, or all these things that we've been talking with Nasri and the knowledge team and Frank also in the early days about when we were brainstorming around this, like what is it that people really need to help them do their work in the best possible way and get the information that can help. And any good ideas, we can decide along the way how to best get it to as many who needs it as possible. So thank you very much for that question. Great.
Another question was, how does the tool handle data gaps and inconsistent reporting across member organizations? Unfortunately, that is not something we are looking at right now. So anything that has been reported in English news, we capture, structure, and put in the database. But if your organization doesn't prefer sharing things in the news, maybe it's more French than English, right now it would not be appear, but we do have some next steps in mind after getting some feedback from all of you in the conference. One of them is looking into other languages in the news article. Another thing is starting to look into any reports and impact reports. But another part is also I think some of you also in the chat mentioned that not everyone has com teams. Some of you are really small teams, right? In that case, if you still want your information to appear here, we would like to add a system where members can go in and actually input this information to appear in the system as well. So my short answer would be, right now we do not handle data gaps in terms of if it's not publicly available in the news, but we do have some steps that we would like to take in the future according to that.
And maybe just a quick comment. It's super important to just kind of take a holistic view and say, before this, there was very little information available. Now you can actually look at trillions of dollars deployed across hundreds of organizations on the continent and these 18,000 activities, right? So there's a lot to already start looking into. And we want to further enrich it along the way. All the members can come forward if they feel there are things that should be added, and that's the first step. If there is something that is not picked up, then we can add it along the way as well. So I think it's there's no perfect world, but this is a huge step forward compared to what was there before, and then we take it from there. Great. Other questions?
So the next question is again, I think around social investment dashboard. Can the tool identify systemic trends or gaps across the ecosystem, not just individual impact? So at the moment, we do aggregate the information in terms of SDGs, social causes, different types of support, and geographical distribution, which already starts to give you some ideas about what's happening and what's not happening. But another thing that we will be doing in the future is adding quarterly insights reports that are based on the data from the dashboard, which we can then have a more add-on and systematic analysis approach in terms of the identification of trends and gaps. And if there is anything specific that you would like to understand and learn more about that can come out of the social investment dashboard, feel free to let us know or the AVPA team know, and then we can also try to structure our reports according to your needs as well.
Thanks,
the next
Chris.
question is around what constitutes an ideal prompt, and what specific AI tools do you recommend to GPT, others, and is it worth getting a paid model? So with this, actually, I would answer with a question, what are we trying to achieve? So there are so many AI tools around, so many general chat tools around, not just ChatGPT, Gemini, NotebookLM, and so on. So, and there are already really, really in-depth research by academics that has been done in terms of which is better in what. Some are better in coding, some are better in writing, and so on. So depending on your use case, I think it would change. And depending on the tool, your ideal prompt will change. But I think one general tip that I can give you, at least this is what I use in terms of prompting. Maybe first of all, if you're using ChatGPT, I think OpenAI recently published a how to prompt GPT-5 documentation, which can be of help. But I think in terms of ideal prompting, it is always good to give context on what you are trying to ask, because it is not like your friend who knows your life, what is your work, that you have a call and brainstorm about something. It has no idea, at least if you don't have a chat history with ChatGPT. So I would say always give context and be really clear in terms of what you want from it. And in terms of getting a paid model, I think it also depends on the use case. A lot of things you can, a lot of small tasks you can already do with non-paid free models. But if you're trying to do some other complex stuff, actually, then a better research is, I think, needed in terms of which is better and which paid version would be good to go with. We had another question around, is there an AI model for fundraising, writing good proposals, or how can you use AI to achieve this? I think we already had some answers, which I actually didn't know about. So I will definitely check out Wula VC and Guide to Good.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing. This is part of this whole community spirit, and
Exactly.
great that and we did see at the start that there was quite a bit of experience in the virtual room. So thanks a lot for joining and sharing, and everybody feel free to do that along the way. Maybe we can even make some kind of repository of all these things that can be shared through AVPA as well. Great.
Yeah. I think that's all the questions. And also considering that we have 8 minutes left, I think I'll leave the word to Nazri again.
Thank you so much, Guliz and Nico, for taking us through that and for that soft launch, as you're calling it. For those who will be interested in knowing more, learning more about this was really a very top level, high level engagement for today. But there's going to be more upcoming in coming months, specifically in November. At the AVPA conference, we're going to be having a session with Nico, and unfortunately Guliz won't be with us, but she'll be with us in spirit. But Nico and Kim will be with us in Nairobi, and will be able to offer their time, their expertise to answer some of these questions. So again, to encourage you to have a look at the link. And because we really, really want you to join us, there's a 10% discount that's available right there on your chat for you to be able to use at checkout, for you to be able to join us at that point. On the day one, we're going to be having a masterclass exploring AI, data, and emerging technologies, and how these are transforming the way impact is measured, analyzed, and scaled. And that will be, I think, quite an interactive session. It's intentionally made in that way, and we're going to make our best also to see some of the comments that have also come out of today, to see how we can perhaps think about incorporating some of those responses through that work going forward. Next slide, Victor. Right. And so we just want to close off. So do you find the Social Investment in Action Africa dashboard as something that would be helpful to your organization? And would you subscribe to it as a free service for the next 1 year? You have the link. It's in your chat. I'm going to put it back in the chat for those who might be scrolling up and down, wondering where it went. It's right there in front of you. Feel free to type into the poll. I think the poll will just be launched. If not, feel free to chat to put it in the chat. And basically, this is really thinking about this tool beyond our own framing as AVPA. As Nico has mentioned, it was, yes, so it is really, how would this be something that you would be able to use in your organization, and would you be able to subscribe to it? And so just click on that very quickly, so that we can be able to see some of those responses. It's also a bit of a validation exercise for all of us, following months and months of building this out, to see how it will be received by all of you. All right, I can see there's some submissions already. Perhaps we can launch what people have shared. Okay, so it looks like a resounding yes has come through on that, which again, as I said, very validating to us that this work is truly meaningful and important and enriching to the ecosystem. Yes, Vandana, you will get the presentations. and a recording of this session, and it's great to see you joining us today. Next slide, Victor. And if you are interested in this, please fill out this form just to get the PDF version of this. Right. And just in closing and in summary, you know, when we began this, I said, look, when I was reading all those science fiction books and watching all those shows, like all this felt light years away, literally, right? But it's here with us. It's here to stay. And I think one thing that's important to say is that that human element, as Guli said, is still very important while we're doing all of these things. All of this is only as good as the people actually building this out and thinking through and rationalizing what you want in terms of research, what you want in terms of outputs. And that when we were initially thinking about this as an organization, the core of it was around the fact that so much data capital was not moving into the continent or moving through the continent because of data. And there wasn't enough data to validate the impact that some of these investors were looking at. And so this was our first attempt at looking at how we can really look at this data misconception or perception and the risk associated around of that, which is our core mission as an organization, AVP. It's how do we drive more capital towards social impact on the continent? And so this is really a testament of how we see this evolving. It'll continue to evolve. As mentioned, we've said we'll be doing quarterly insights. We're going to be doing different things at different times. So stay tuned. This was just the beginning. And also finally, just thinking about what other players are doing in terms of this. What we're doing is not, you know, so unique or very, very special. It's special to us, and hopefully after this day, you're feeling like it's special to you as well. But other organizations, as we can see from the chat, are also doing very interesting things. So again, as AVPA, we are really, truly collaborative at heart. And if we're also able to think about how we can have that kind of a depository, as Nico said, of a quick reference. You know, if you're looking to do this organization is doing that. I really like what has come out in the chats, and we can see how to explore that further. So a very huge thanks for joining us today. Thank you very, very much. Nico has put in his details for Impact Intelligence. They're a fantastic team. It's in the chat. You can learn more about them. Join us in November if you can, or tell a friend if you can't. And we look forward to hosting you on many more of these informative sessions. And it's my very great pleasure to wish you a lovely rest of your day. Thank you very much, everyone.